Hi, everyone. Welcome to C-Suite Talks. We speak with industry leaders, introducing you to some of the most interesting people and businesses today. We're focused on women, money, and power, as well as diversity in all areas. Welcome to C-Suite Talks. I'm Beth Hilbing, co-CEO of C-Suite, along with...
Hi, I'm Dianne Gubin, co-CEO, along with Beth. And this week, oh my gosh, we are so honored and so happy to speak with Teresa Freeborn and Ashley Freeborn. They are a mother-daughter team, and they are co-founders of Smash Tess, a clothing company that they co-founded in 2015, so about 10 years ago. So Teresa Freeborn, she's an author, a speaker, a board member, a president, and a CEO with a demonstrated history of corporate leadership. She's a longtime advocate for women, and she's an author and a clothing company owner and chairwoman. She's outspoken and a sought-after speaker, a media commenter, and she delivers important truths with warmth, compassion, and humor. So welcome, Teresa. And I'd like to introduce Ashley, too. So Ashley Freeborn, she's the co-founder of, and the CEO of Smash Tess. So Smash Tess is Canada's it's a top company in Canada, okay? And Ashley is on Canada's top 40 under 40 list. She's a TEDx speaker. She's with BIV 40 under 40. She's a Startup Canadian Entrepreneur of the Year, and she's one of Canada's fastest growing companies. So welcome, Teresa and Ashley.
Hi.
Yay!
Delighted to have you, and welcome to our listeners.
Yes, thank you. And so let's kick this off. Why don't each of you kind of give us a broader on your background and a little bit about you and what you're focused on today.
Sure. Well, I'll go first. I was a teacher, turned into finance, turned into an entrepreneur by accident almost. And it was one fateful summer I spent at the Condé Nast College of Fashion and Design. My mom and I spent our whole lives being obsessed with all things cozy and comfy and planning our Christmas outfits all year long. And I went to this course, and I remember I tried my hand at everything fashion, and finally she looked at me and she said, "I think you're just going to own a business." Like, I guess I just wasn't very good at Adobe. And I kind of whispered Smash Tess out loud to her. It was something my mom and I had always kind of dreamt of. And she said, "Oh my gosh, this is a good idea." And I remember I ran outside and I was in London. I called mom and I was like, "Okay, good idea. The woman at Vogue thinks good idea." And that was it. That was the trigger that started our business plan. And since then, our little, what we thought might be a side hobby became a business very quickly. And we kind of, were catapulted into this trajectory that we've been on. And a wild ride. And now we're a D2C primarily brand. We do wholesale and worldwide, hopefully. And we're probably best known for starting the romper revolution, which obviously we make really great rompers, which all women love, really cozy onesies. But really romper revolution is more, it's a mindset, and it's about women uplifting, celebrating other women. It's not about men. It's about empowering ourselves and creating an online community where women can feel like joy, online and in our online space. So it's been pretty amazing. We've done lots of collaborations with influencers and celebrities, and it has been just a beautiful, beautiful journey that we've been on. And of course, I do it with my mother, Teresa, and I'll hand it over to you, Mom.
Okay, great. It's interesting you say that, Ashley, that you didn't start out to be an entrepreneur. I don't know many women that did either, right? We all started somewhere, and then all of a sudden we saw the light or something happened, right? So I truly did not start out as an entrepreneur either. I started in banking years ago, and sort of retired, I think we can call it retirement 2 years ago, which I failed at miserably. And then immediately thought I got something to say, and I started writing, and I wrote a book, and I never ever thought I'd do that either. So these are these things that happen on the life journey here. But I wrote a book talking about the lack of advancement of women in leadership roles, because I lived it in the financial services business, and I truly believe that the world will be better and corporations will be better and more successful if we have more women at the leadership ranks.
And there's no better time than now to promote this.
Well, I was going to say, there absolutely time is now. I mean, this is our moment. So I'm not letting up. In fact, I'm kind of ramping up my presence online to actually have more opportunity to speak about this issue. What I do, though, is it's not just about lamenting the issue, because we all do that every day. We talk about the things that just are incredibly behind and we're not making progress. Well, this is more about, so how do we make that progress? And quite frankly, I want to talk to the men out there because they're the ones that have the power, and I believe that they can help us make the difference. So that's kind of a chapter I went into. And then most recently, I've been asked to help out a management consulting firm to enter into the Canadian market. So I live in California, but I'm a dual citizen, so I can kind of have a foot in both camps. And I'm very excited about the next chapter.
So hopefully you don't get charged tariffs when you come back.
It'll be tricky, isn't it? No, I have 2 passports. It's always welcome home, no matter what company or what country I go into. So it's all good. But anyway, then I have the pleasure of working with Ashley, and it's so much fun. And as she was right, this has been very organic from the beginning. And it's been a very exciting ride. And how fun. Who doesn't want to work with their daughter in business? And
well, actually, and that brings us to our question, which is, your mother-daughter team. And listen, on my investment banking business, I joined my dad's business. So I know that family dynamic. How do you guys handle working together?
Well, I think I'll start by just saying that clearly defined areas that we work in, although there's lots of overlap because you can't help yourself. But at the end of the day, Ashley's the CEO. I let her run the show. I am the chair of the board. I oversee sort of the financial side of things. Obviously, I'm a banker. I got that part. But at the end of the day, I'm still a mom, right? And I'm going to be the mom, which means, we have tough spots like any business where you think, oh, God, the world is, caving in here. And my job is to just always make sure that she understands that, she's got this, right? It's that constant, you got this, you can make this happen. And I'm right there with you. And the net's there. I'm going to catch you. So, that's kind of my dynamic. Now, Ash probably has a different view of that.
Yeah, I was going to say, Ashley, what's your take?
I can't wait to hear.
No, I mean, I feel like lucky enough that if you ask me who my mentor is, it's obviously my mom. And I think a lot of women in business, they don't have that. It's, I wish it was more often, but it's not. And it's a lonely place to be a CEO. You're very lonely at the top for sure. And luckily I don't have to be lonely. So, I think that obviously the benefit far outweighs any obvious. You can always butt heads with your mother. We know this. We all know this. And moms always know best. So you got to break through that sometimes too. And I know that 'cause I'm a mom and I know best. But I think, overall, I think the key as in any partnership, it doesn't really differ with family. It's like, stay in your lane, know your role, right? And I think, and then respect each other's lanes. And it doesn't mean that you don't get to interject or have an opinion or brainstorm, because of course we want that, right? But I think that's where all conflict can happen in business, is that there's that misalignment and it's not a clear understanding of what we're each sort of taking care of and tackling. And so Mom and I have lots of puddles constantly. We're saying, you're going to do this, I'll do that, we'll do this. And, we just kind of divide and conquer. And my mom has really stepped in the last couple of years since retiring, which has been amazing. Because I'll be honest with you, the finance part, like, I do not love. That totally depletes me in so many ways. And I'm much more, the creative and working in product and marketing and brand and community. And so having something into my yang is like a pretty lovely thing, because it's, so I'm not going to complain. It's the moral of the story. I have lots of things to be grateful for working with my mom. Yeah.
That's lovely. It'll make everybody so happy to hear that. So as you started your business, what are some of the challenges that you faced, and how did you overcome them? And, how did you transpire?
Why this particular clothing company with a focus on rompers? Like, how'd you get that too?
Well, we know you've expanded.
Yeah, we know. I'm
wearing a sweater.
Yeah.
What is the order of the day?
Yeah, it really was, I don't know, people ask me all the time, like, I'll go on speaking circuits. They'll be like, well, how did you do that? And then how did you grow that? And then how did you do with Hillary Duff? And I'm like, I don't know the actual magic. So much of it is magic, and it's just putting yourself out there and constantly saying yes to all opportunities. And I'm a yes girl. Like everyone knows this is like both my superpower and my weakness. Like I always tell my girlfriends, if you call me on a Tuesday and you want to go dancing, like call the right person, because I have a general rule that says I have to say yes. And so much of this business has been, and I think really it's just going, it's doing, it's being in action and just being open. And even though you're tired, showing up to that event or meeting that person or saying yes to a phone call and sitting down. And I think with Smash and Tess, we started off thinking, well, we'll do some PJs. And then we actually made a romper, like one romper. And it was 6 months into business. And we were really early in the influencer game, and it just took off. People were wearing it, talking about it. And we saw a really important opportunity. And so all of our thoughts of doing PJs and this and that, we're like, well, screw that. This is what the women want. They want bumpers. And I think that's
give them what they want. Yeah.
It's
Right.
all of business if your ego is in the way or you thought it was going to go a certain way. And I think for us, we were just like, yeah, okay, we'll give the women what they want. So we just started making more and more rompers. And it was also the beginning of a pre-order model that helped us bootstrap the business, because we would accept orders. People would wait 8 to 10 weeks and then we would make them for them. And
Oh, okay.
once we pulled out of our first batch, we were like, well, what do we do? We have no inventory. Then we were like, well, wait a minute. Why don't we just get them made to order? Like, well, if they want them so badly. So we started to open this up, and then it was just that kind of how it went, and it just snowballed so fast. So here we are. I think Mom and I, neither of us knew we were going to start a romper, company. But I think we love fashion. Mom and I love, like, this is what we have in common. We love to go to New York and go shopping. We love, like, fashion is definitely both of our biggest passions. So I think it was meant to be. It's just that the product offering and everything really pivoted once we started and figured out what the customer needed and wanted.
Right.
Now you've expanded your clothing line, and how do you make those decisions on what to get into? And then are you still just in time, or you keep stock and so forth now?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That's a constant thing, because we meet all the time being like, what does she want from a product perspective? Like, what does that customer want? And I think it's tough because, without a crystal ball, you're trying to figure it out and be like, okay, what is she telling us when she buys this thing but doesn't buy that thing? And so our sort of foray into more of the knits was a big departure for us. It was a clear change in product, but it has been one of our most successful categories. So it's really just like listening to the customer, pivoting, and we've always done it really conservatively, where we're like, okay, let's try a little bit, small batch. We still really operate in a small batch basis. Like, when you're not going to see us blow it out and order thousands and thousands and then put them on sale. Like, we're trying to avoid that overconsumption.
Okay, that makes sense.
Right.
Like, that's kind of the name of our game. So,
and Ash, we also really do rely on our community. So we have
Absolutely.
over almost 400,000 social media followers. Like, it's a pretty big cult-like feel in Canada, at least. And we're trying to get that feel in the US too. But, I think it's because it's community-led design too. So we actually let our community tell us what they want. We get them to choose colors. We get them to choose the shapes or sort of the silhouettes, and give us some idea of what do you like more. And then, of course, now we go back to them and say, just as you ordered, now we have this. And I think it's about just constantly spending the time doing that. It's going to be a lot easier if you didn't do that. But I think that that's part of what we represent. It's their community. Well, of course, we want to know what they want to think and do.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right. So at this point, it's a multi-million-dollar business. So besides listening to the community, which is just, we're hearing you on that, what else helped you to scale?
Yeah, mostly really organic. So I think the challenging part in consumer business is that, like, most people are buying.
I'm done for that. Oh, I'm so sorry. It's the United Kingdom. It's Rowena.
Your sound guy.
Sorry.
Is not no,
Sorry. Sorry. Okay, wait. They'll edit this part out. So let's take 1, 2.
Sorry, what was the question?
How did you scale to your multi-million-dollar business? How did you scale?
How'd you scale? The product, the community.
So I think that, in a lot of cases, people scale, or they even start through a lot of paid channels. So, through digital acquisition, which is an expensive game to play. For us at Smash Tess, we actually took a bit of a different path. We started scaling. We obviously saw interest in that product. Then the pandemic hit. That pandemic actually made us, people called us COVID couture at the time because everything was comfortable. But really, we've always focused on growing our organic community because, when the chips, chips are what they make. What am I trying to say? When the chips fall, that expression. Right. When things get hard, community is everything. We know this in all facets of life, right? It's really about people who genuinely care about you, who are there for you, who are going to choose you all day long. And those are the kind of customers and the kind of community that we want at Smash Tess. We're not as interested in buying that customer. We're more interested in bringing her into our community and having her truly have a voice and be a part of what we do. And so instead of focusing on buying and scaling, we've been more focused on how do we grow those organic communities? And a lot of that's through collaboration. So finding like-minded women who have their own community and their own following and leveraging one, working together to actually both grow our brands and grow our communities. Those are the customers that are going to shop. We have people that have spent, $40,000 at Smash Tess that eat, sleep, and breathe it, that no matter what we drop, they're in, and those are the customers that they just make it all worthwhile. And so I think we've managed to really scale organically. And if you kind of look at our marketing efficiency rate compared to those of many other brands, you'll notice it's quite low. And it's because we don't spend a lot that way. We're much focused on growing organically, and then offering an array of new products to keep the customer who's already bought maybe 5 rompers will not get a sweater and still buy at Smash Tess. So that's our main focus.
But I also think that there's something there that's very unique about what we do, Ashley, and I'd say what you do, because I don't do this part, but the brand cannot be disassociated from Smash, who is Ashley. Okay. Like if you following us on Instagram, Ashley's talking to you 5 times a day. Okay. This is it. Every bit of it. She tries on our clothing. Like we don't hire the models to do that. She does the fit stuff, and she shows them how to wear things, how to accessorize things. And women by and large are busy people. They don't have time to think this through, and they see it and go, God, that's that easy. I got that. And I got this and I got this. And they become this, it's almost addicted to it. And I'm going to tell you the downside of that, of course, is when you're on Instagram the way we are and on TikTok the way we are, honestly, there's a group of people that will slam you for anything. If they can't get in on a buy of a sweater that got released and it got eaten up in 8 minutes, it's all gone. And they're like, what happened? I'm really upset about that. Here's what happened. The rest of our girls, the rest of our following go back in and defend us. Like it is like talk about a family. This is family to us. It's crazy. So that's a very unique thing in the marketplace. I don't see that with other brands. Just don't.
So I wanted to ask, so how does sustainability play into your business model, and what initiatives have you implemented to promote eco-friendly practices? Because I heard once that no one needed to make another stitch of clothes, that there was enough clothes for the whole world if they just reuse product. So how do you deal with that?
Yeah, well, that's true. We're not an eco-fashion brand, so we never claim to be. But that said, we, I think, are far more responsible than most fashion brands for several reasons. One, we implement small batch production, and pre-order and made-to-order models. So part of that is, and sometimes we even incentivize that behavior. So you actually get a discount in reverse. So if you pre-order with us, you get a discount, which makes people want to do that. Then it helps us with our numbers. So we're actually producing to the demand. I think you see the largest amount of waste because it's no different when you're running any business, but if you're doing far more units, then you're obviously going to get a way bigger price break. Then you can sell your stuff for cheaper. Then it doesn't all sell. Then it ends up, in a landfill, and that cycle goes on. And so at Smash Tess, we operate very, very, very differently than that. Like it's more like, okay, we've got this. What colors do you want to see it in? Oh, you want to see in purple? Okay, good. We're going to release a limited amount. Everything's limited amount that you're getting. And because of that, it's actually helped us in that people are like, oh, I better buy it or it's going to sell out. So I think our small batch is number one. Then there's just other little things that we do. Like we use an organic fabric that comes from a sustainable resource bamboo. So there's certain like decisions you can make as you're going through, and they're not all perfect. And there's sometimes where you're like, well, I just have to use this synthetic fabric because that's all that's available. And honestly, I don't know. Sometimes I'm like, I think cotton can be actually in a lot of ways more ethically challenging than a synthetic fabric. I think synthetic fabrics get a bad name, but so now a lot of polyesters reusing, like we made the bike shorts out of water bottles.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's I think like we're evolving. And I think people get stuck on like, well, is it real wool? It's like, do you really want real wool? Because like that's coming from an animal and it's itchy, and we've actually figured out ways to make something really soft with an acrylic, and maybe that was used out of a recycled material. So I don't believe in greenwashing. So I've never come out and said like, oh, Smash and Tess, we're an eco. Like I don't believe in that, but I do really tell the story to all those who will listen of what we do, why we do it. And we think the positive impact that we have, because one of our key tenets is responsibility and our values. And so we believe we're responsible, from beginning to end, how we treat our customers, our team, and the environment. So
Yeah.
that's our take.
Talking about your team, especially, let me go to Teresa. As you've grown from a small family-owned business, the two of you are however many, right? And you've scaled. How has your leadership style changed, Teresa, and then Ashley?
Well, it's a small team. Okay. We do, $10 million worth of business a year. We have 15 people and we do our own distribution within that. So if you think about that,
okay.
the only thing we don't do is
that's
the actual
lean.
production. So it's a small team. Everybody does everything. There's a lot of crossover. I mean, when we were doing $30 million a year during COVID, that was different. We had to have a huge structure to go with it. We're kind of like this. It feels very much like family. We've got folks that have been there for a long time. And Ashley's brother, my son, runs the distribution center. So again, more family is in there. He's the only guy, by the way. The rest are all women. And, listen, who can work for his younger sister? That would be my son.
Right, exactly.
His mom is determined. I mean, come on. But the family dynamics are a good thing, and they can be also a challenge. I mean, you're really in each other's pockets. So, but I find that the whole idea of leadership is that everybody has a good idea. And even when we're talking about design, we're talking about timing of something. We talk to the distribution center, the gals that wrap up rompers and send things out on a timely basis. We want to know what their perspective is as well. And every now and then we move them into a pop-up so that they can experience that retail front end, and it's exciting and fun and everybody's interested. So I think that's what you get with a small company, right? I never had that with my previous jobs where everybody was kind of in their swim lane. This is very different that way. Very different.
Interesting. And your take, Ashley, on leadership within your organization and how you've evolved and grown? Because most certainly, all of a sudden now you've got this team, including your family, that's reporting up to you.
Yeah, it's definitely different. I think like I come from a background where like I taught high school theater and high school kids. And so coaching and, all of that was always so important to me. And so now I feel like I've just transferred that over to what I do every day. And I think, I'm always evolving, honestly. Like I think I love direct feedback. I love to continue to learn. If there's not something that I'm doing right, then I want to be better. And not to say that I'm not kind of exhausted. And there's certainly times where I have to sort of, when it comes to leading, I have to trust the leaders that are there, and I have to pull back a bit and I have to let them do their thing. Because one, I'm tired, and two, that's why we hired them, So I think really trying to motivate, and this is always hard too. And if I'm being real, I'm seeing all facets of the business, and then you've got to show up for your team. And how do you want to show up? How do you get them motivated? How do you get them excited? How do you get them to like keep their eyes on the goals and not be as distracted as I am, sometimes by the drop that didn't go so well, or any of the challenges that come up. So I think, that's where I find a real challenge for myself is just like, okay, like bring the best version of myself to the team and also show them vulnerability, because I think that also, at the end of the day, it's like I think like anything, people want to feel important and like they're a part of something. And if you don't let them in, then how do they truly feel like that? So it's a balance between motivating and also protecting, and encouraging. And so every day I'm like, I work on that. I do.
We all
That's
do.
great. That's good.
I always say this.
So,
I say it to my team,
yeah.
like, you have to work with me every day. I'm like, how? Like, it's different if I was the CEO of something that wasn't mine, right? But this is my baby. So it takes a certain kind of team to work with the founder operator, right? Like, it's not an easy task. And I'm sure if you've ever worked with one, it's like, it's a different dynamic. It really is. So kudos to them, because they deal with me every day.
Yay. That's good.
Yay.
Well, I'm sure they appreciate you. So as we wrap up, I wanted to talk to each of you to give what advice would you give to an aspiring female entrepreneur looking to break into retail? So each of you take a stab at that.
Or just an aspiring woman entrepreneur.
Yeah, exactly.
I
So
would,
Teresa, what advice would you give?
yeah, and
her?
I would start with basically, and it's a message that I've given to any young groups that I talk to, any young women, and that is kind of, do what you love. If you do what you love, like if you really love and you feel really passionate about whatever it is, you will be great at it. You can't help yourself. So if you have some idea and you really love that, if you're into hiking and you've got some idea about a hiking item that you think would go crazy because you love it, just put your heart behind it. I mean, this is the other thing. I think people are afraid to take those kind of risks because it seems too easy when you're looking at things. Like Ashley and I, when you look at this company, all we thought of was, and she used me as that, well, I go to work every day. I wear a suit and pumps and have my hair tied back and makeup's on, a game face, and away I go. And it's like, when I get home, I don't want to look like that anymore. I just want to take it all off. And I want to, like, what is our slogan, Ashley? Hair up, bra off, and romper on. And that,
It's like mom's home.
that's what we want. And then we're thinking, well, what is that you could be so comfortable and lovely? And so all I'm saying is that follow your heart, because your heart will tell you things. Most of the time we're ignoring it. But if you love something, then go get it. Go get it. And honestly, you don't need to have piles of money behind you to make it happen. We did not. We bootstrapped this. But it's amazing. When there's a will, there's a way, and you will figure it out. Now, there's some contra to that, and that would be, be smart about the money side of the business, because it can go like that. So be very careful there, and be careful who you partner with, because they're a reflection of your brand. So your production houses, your sources of fabrics and stuff like that. So that's how I'd leave it.
Yes. Yes.
What about you, Ashley?
Well, two things. I always say the first is like, I'm not any smarter than anybody. I think what really makes you a true entrepreneur is just being in action. And so it's like, we all have these little ideas, right? These little embers that are burning just below the surface. And it's like igniting that is what makes you an entrepreneur. And so I think it's just putting one foot in front of the other and choosing every day to get something done. And before you know it, you'll have a business, and then it just goes from there. And then the second thing is always act like you're a big deal. And I think that what I say by that is not about ego. It's about setting up your business appropriately so you can scale. And I see it a lot, like when I'm chatting I do a lot of mentoring through Startup Canada, and it's like you may have a brand idea that is, it sounds cute, but how are we going to grow that? Like, what is overall, like, what's your story? Have you set yourself up properly for, from a finance perspective? Like, because you never know. And with us, it just happened honestly overnight that we started to grow and scale. And it's like, you want to make sure your foundation is rock solid before you do that. So those are my two pieces.
Good. That is very
That's
astute
awesome.
advice. So thank you to our listeners. Thank you, Teresa Freeborn and Ashley Freeborn, co-founders of Smash and Tess. And how does everybody find you? What's the website?
Yeah, we're smashtess.com. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok at Smash Tess.
Terrific. And thank you to our sponsors, Cohn Resnick and Advisory, Assurance and Tax Services, City National Bank, Cigna, the healthcare company, Uncle Nearest, and C-Suite Executive Search. If you're hiring for your team, do give us a call. Thank you for listening. And to wrap us up, hit the subscribe button, hit Apple, Spotify, LinkedIn, YouTube, anywhere you find your podcasts. And do leave us a review, a good one, please. And follow us on social media, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram. We love hearing from you. Send Beth an email. So that's Beth at C-Suite. That's CSWEET.org. So Beth at csuite.org. And check out our website again, www.csweet.org. Thank you again.